that doesn't mean that Hillary would have been a good choice either. She was a terrible choice. She's a corrupt politician, one of the most unlikable people that's ever run for office. She, in so many ways,
crazy shit.
And they were trying to get it. They were trying to get people to be supporting her just because she's a...
No one expected a podcast episode to erupt into a political storm, but the moment Joe Rogan pressed record and shifted the conversation toward Hillary Clinton, the tone changed instantly. What began as a routine long-form discussion on the Joe Rogan Experience quickly escalated into something far bigger, sparking a wave of intense online reactions, shaking media circles, and igniting debates that spread far beyond the walls of the studio.
It's adorable how people just make it like that's not a big deal.
Yeah.
The deleting of 30,000 emails, not a big deal. The collusion with the DNC to rig the primaries, not a big deal.
Yeah, and Bernie, God bless him, he played the good soldier and, fell on the sword and hasn't really, he hasn't made much of an issue of it.
I think it's because he has aspirations to move forward and he knows they owe him one now. And he knows that Hillary Clinton is essentially done.
That's interesting.
Well, if they try to bring her back in 2020, people will go crazy. Like, are you nuts?
Could you imagine? She might actually be thinking.
Was this simply another viral moment destined to fade from the internet? Or did it expose something deeper, years of influence, strategy, and carefully crafted public narratives surrounding Hillary Clinton? That lingering question is exactly what kept audiences glued to the discussion as Joe Rogan unpacked the topic on the Joe Rogan Experience, turning a single conversation into a debate that continued to echo across media and social platforms.
The clip of Hillary in 2012, where Hillary is more MAGA than Trump.
I think we gotta have tough conditions, tell people to come out of the shadows. If they've committed a crime, deport them. No questions asked, they're gone. If they...
Cheers from the Democrats.
If they've been working and are law-abiding, we should say, here are the conditions for you staying. You have to pay a stiff fine because you came here illegally. You have to pay back taxes, and you have to try to learn English, and you have to wait in line. You're gonna learn English, everybody.
Before we dive deeper, make sure to like the video and subscribe. You won't want to miss what comes next. Hillary Clinton has spent decades at the center of the American political arena, often described as one of the most experienced figures in the room, and at times one of the most scrutinized. Her career spans years of relentless public attention, shaped by major headlines, intense policy battles, and countless high-stakes television debates that have continually tested her influence and resilience on the national stage.
She was pulling in, and she had a ton of money behind her, and they were completely arrogant, and all the liberal elite in the media thought there was no chance that she was going to lose. She's 95% shoo-in to win the presidency, and she walked around like she was 95%.
She already thought she won.
Let's say it all does go pear-shaped. November 18th, 2016, and for whatever reason, it's President-elect Donald Trump. In that circumstance, is Hillary Clinton moving to Canada?
First of all, I do not think that will happen, and I have every confidence if I'm the nominee.
While Hillary Clinton built her influence through decades in politics, Joe Rogan rose to prominence in a very different way, by asking bold, unfiltered questions that often make even the most powerful figures uncomfortable. Through the Joe Rogan Experience, he created a media platform entirely his own. So when their worlds collided, it felt like far more than a simple interview. It was a clash of two powerful arenas, the master of long-form conversation facing a seasoned political strategist, creating a moment charged with tension and undeniable energy.
That was crazy.
Way in advance. That Donna Brazile book about it is mind-blowing.
Yes. The thing was, he was packing fucking stadiums.
Yeah.
She couldn't even fill a fucking high school gymnasium.
Right. She was pulling all the strings, and she had all the favors that she was pulling in, and she had a shit ton of money behind her, and they were completely arrogant, and all the liberal elite in the media thought there was no chance that she was going to lose. She's 95% shoo-in to win the presidency, and she walked around like she was 95%.
She already thought she won.
Yeah.
But you had the Benghazi.
By the time the moment unfolded, the internet had already seized on the spectacle. To many viewers, it seemed familiar at first glance. Joe Rogan, the outspoken podcast host known for challenging conversations, facing Hillary Clinton, a veteran politician shaped by decades of hearings, debates, and relentless public scrutiny. On the surface, the setup looked predictable, almost routine. But as the discussion began to unfold, it quickly became clear that appearances can be deceiving, and that this exchange might reveal far more than anyone initially expected.
Are on a vitamin IV drip right now and giving her hormone replacement therapy and getting her to do yoga.
I don't think I just don't see her being resurrected, but maybe.
They'll try.
Maybe so. I do think Joe Biden's coming in.
You think so?
Yeah, I think he's viewing this. I think he's very upset with himself, not upset with others, but I think he probably thinks at this stage of the game, times were different. It was tough regarding his family, but I think he probably regrets not going in the last time. And I think we're going to see him throw his hat in the ring, because he's going to look around. He's going to think, what am I up against? I'm up against Harris and Booker and who else?
Yeah.
But I mean, I think
He's got some.
Joe Rogan didn't arrive with dramatic accusations or fiery theatrics. That has never been his style. Instead, he did what he's known for on the Joe Rogan Experience, calmly pulling at the threads of complex issues. The conversation gradually shifted toward themes of power, accountability, and the influence of long-standing political dynasties, subtly challenging the idea that a small circle of insiders holds the keys to democracy. With each carefully framed question directed toward Hillary Clinton, you could almost sense the unease among traditional political gatekeepers, as a discussion meant to be routine began to feel far more probing than expected.
Infuriated when people that I knew that I was friends with were trying to tell me that Hillary Clinton was a good choice. And that's the same choice. I'm like, oh, look, I don't know if she's murdered people, but I know that I worry that she's murdered people. That's I really wonder. Like this Seth Rich shit.
I know. First of all, just leave. You don't even need to go there. You know,
there's so many other things.
There's so many other things that we know for a fact.
The Clinton Foundation, for instance.
So, the Iraq War. I'm old enough, Joe, to remember when being for the Iraq War was a disqualifier in a Democratic primary.
Hillary Clinton is far more than a politician nearing the final chapters of a long career. She has occupied a central place in America's political landscape for decades, serving as First Lady, U.S. Senator, and Secretary of State, and coming within reach of the presidency itself. To supporters and critics alike, she represents experience, influence, and a political network that spans the highest levels of power. So when Joe Rogan began exploring the forces and decisions that shaped her legacy on the Joe Rogan Experience, it didn't feel like casual curiosity. It felt like a deeper examination of the machinery behind one of the most consequential political careers of modern times.
Ladies, I stand with her. So there's all these women that have this blind allegiance towards this career politician. It's completely full of shit. She's been full of shit forever. If you watch the conversation between James Comey, when James Comey testified about what he did and what they found with the Hillary Clinton emails, and then her version of it, she's just a straight liar.
Yeah.
She deleted 33,000 emails.
How do you do that? And then
For Hillary Clinton, decades in politics have refined a reputation for discipline, precision, and carefully measured communication, an image built through years of navigating the highest levels of power. Joe Rogan, however, approaches conversations from the opposite direction. On the Joe Rogan Experience, his style thrives on open-ended questions and unscripted exploration, often challenging long-standing narratives that surround influential figures. When those two worlds meet, the tension isn't simply about policy or party lines. It's about who gets to shape the story. Rogan's outsider perspective invites millions of listeners to examine the decisions, controversies, and carefully managed legacy that have defined Clinton's decades-long career, turning the discussion into something larger than criticism alone, a moment of cultural commentary about power, perception, and the evolving role of media in holding public figures to account.
He did say that.
Yeah, she really did say that after she just got done Gaddafi and then laughed about it.
We came, we saw, he died.
He came, we saw, he died. The fact that any human being would ever do that. By the way he died?
Few modern political figures have faced scrutiny quite like Hillary Clinton. Over the years, nearly every aspect of her career, from speeches and policy decisions to the work of the Clinton Foundation, has been dissected, debated, exaggerated, and transformed into endless headlines and internet memes. Even the controversy surrounding roughly 33,000 emails from the Hillary Clinton email controversy became a cultural fixation. Yet when Joe Rogan explored these topics on the Joe Rogan Experience, he approached them less like a political talking point and more like someone opening a long-forgotten attic, carefully examining old questions as if they were unexplored boxes waiting to be unpacked.
Jamie, pull that video up.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because there was some information that seems to point that Hillary Clinton had involvement with Russia.
The only other adversary of ours who's anywhere near as good as the Russian is China.
For many people, the story of Hillary Clinton seemed finished. She had lost a presidential race, written books, and stepped back from the daily spotlight of electoral politics. Yet some figures remain permanently woven into the fabric of power, and criticism directed at them still sparks intense reactions. That's why the conversation sparked by Joe Rogan on the Joe Rogan Experience quickly grew into something bigger than a discussion about one politician. It became a broader clash between traditional institutions and the rise of independent media. On one side stood a long-established political titan shaped by decades inside government. On the other, a podcast host who built influence with nothing more than a microphone and an enormous audience. To some viewers, Rogan was uncovering uncomfortable questions, while others dismissed the moment as spectacle, but the impact was undeniable. In today's media landscape, attention itself has become a form of power, and when an outsider voice challenges a figure long associated with authority, it highlights a deeper tension, the growing collision between established credibility and the raw reach of modern digital platforms.
Did she get away with that? Like what? Like,
well, how about shaming all the women that came out and accused him? She would attack those women and go after them. And, Bourdain talked about that recently before he killed himself. There was a thing about what she had done to attack the women who were victims of Bill. Especially earlier in her career.
Oh God, she
represented child molesters. That was one of the things that she did earlier in her career. She got them off. There's a videotape that Dave Smith was.
She was laughing in one of them about the victims. Like, I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with?
Well, she was laughing about the effectiveness of lie detector tests. Like, oh.
The moment resonates because of the stark contrast between two very different worlds. Hillary Clinton has spent decades refining a polished, disciplined public image, while Joe Rogan built his brand on raw, unfiltered conversation through the Joe Rogan Experience. Watching those styles collide feels almost surreal, like an unscripted improvisation suddenly stepping onto a carefully choreographed stage. Yet that contrast is exactly what captures the audience's attention and reflects a larger shift in how people engage with politics. Long, open-ended discussions are increasingly replacing tightly controlled messaging and brief sound bites. Rogan thrives on questioning ideas and exploring uncomfortable topics, while Clinton represents decades of navigating the structured world of traditional politics. When those two forces meet, even in a neon-lit podcast studio far removed from a Senate chamber, the tension becomes compelling. And as millions follow the conversation across news panels and social media, it highlights a deeper truth. The balance of influence in modern media is shifting, and the microphone is no longer controlled solely by traditional gatekeepers.
Hillary Clinton said in an interview, if we can't control social media, we lose control.
If the platforms, whether it's Facebook or Twitter X or Instagram or TikTok, whatever they are, if they don't moderate and monitor the content, we lose total control.
Yeah, you're not supposed to have control over other human beings.
For much of her career, Hillary Clinton operated in a world shaped by press briefings, television interviews, and carefully crafted headlines. Today, however, a single 3-hour episode of the Joe Rogan Experience hosted by Joe Rogan can generate more cultural momentum than many official statements from traditional institutions. With one upload, millions of listeners lean in, not just to hear criticism, but to witness how influence itself is evolving. Independent platforms now question, analyze, and amplify ideas in ways that would have been unimaginable 2 decades ago. Whether someone supports Clinton or resonates more with Rogan's skepticism, the moment highlights a powerful shift. Even the most seasoned and battle-tested public figures must now navigate a media landscape where the modern microphone and the vast digital audience behind it can challenge authority in real time.
The first goddamn time she ran.
Right.
And all of a sudden we're supposed to, now people, like Joy Behar says, that's a long time ago, forget about it. Why don't you go tell that to a soldier's, to a mother who's got a dead soldier? Why don't you go tell them that just died in an illegal war? Why don't you go tell that to a couple 100,000 Iraqis who are dead? Get over it, it was a long time ago. Fuck. Yeah. Anyway, so I remember when the Bill Clinton was no friend to the working man. In fact, he was the starting of the demise of this country.
At its core, one question raised by Joe Rogan continues to linger long after the conversation ends. Do we truly understand how power works? Even as the episode fades, that idea keeps echoing. Hillary Clinton remains one of the most influential figures in modern politics, while Rogan continues to shape cultural and media conversations through the Joe Rogan Experience. Neither voice is likely to disappear from public memory anytime soon. But the real fascination lies in what their exchange represents. A shifting balance of influence in which power is no longer held solely by elected officials, but also by the independent voices capable of reaching millions with a single conversation.
That Hillary Clinton thing that I texted you today, this one is wild.
We do not think the comprehensive health care benefits should be extended to those who are undocumented workers and illegal aliens. We do not want to do anything to encourage more illegal immigration into this country. We know now that too many people come in for medical care as it is. We certainly don't want them having the same benefits that American citizens are entitled to have.
How about that? More MAGA than Trump.
And then you couldn't believe you watched.
Just when it seemed the tension couldn't rise any further, the moment took on a deeper meaning. For decades, political authority was often associated with the marble halls of government, committee rooms, private briefings, and tightly managed news cycles. Joe Rogan, speaking from the open environment of the Joe Rogan Experience, challenged that assumption. His platform operates in a space where millions can listen, question, and engage without press credentials or institutional gatekeepers. By contrast, Hillary Clinton built her influence within the traditional architecture of political power, shaped by decades of experience, strategy, and public service, an era that also defined campaigns such as those of Barack Obama. The contrast is striking. Rogan represents the unpredictable reach of modern cultural influence, while Clinton embodies the disciplined resilience of political leadership. His questions aren't simply personal critiques. They challenge the broader framework of how power and authority operate in the digital age, where even the most extensively studied public figures can still face new scrutiny from unexpected voices.
Backing Republicans, why don't we ask China to back us?
The fact that they pushed that for 3 years and they've never come out and said, we were misinformed.
China, if you're listening, why don't you get Trump's tax returns? I'm sure our media would richly reward you.
That is not the case. There really wasn't this crazy collusion between Russia and Donald Trump. This wasn't some grand conspiracy to elect a Russian puppet as the president.
After decades of running campaigns, navigating diplomacy, and surviving controversies that might have ended most political careers, Hillary Clinton represents the resilience of traditional political power. Yet when Joe Rogan begins probing the influence surrounding her legacy on the Joe Rogan Experience, the moment feels almost surreal, like shining a flashlight into a room already flooded with spotlights, just to see what might still be hiding in the corners. As Rogan digs deeper into the mechanics of elite politics, the conversation expands beyond one individual and taps into a broader cultural shift. Many people are no longer questioning just politicians, but the systems and networks that shape decisions behind closed doors. That tension fuels intense reactions online. Supporters fiercely defend Clinton's decades of experience, while critics amplify Rogan's skepticism as long overdue scrutiny. In today's social media arena, where memes can travel faster than policy debates, Rogan's relentless questioning reflects a new dynamic in modern influence. He doesn't replace political authority, but he competes with it, using nothing more than a microphone and a massive audience. And in this evolving media landscape, where conversations can ignite instantly and trend worldwide, even the most established reputations can find themselves examined in a neon-lit podcast studio, with millions watching the debate unfold in real time.